What's going on, Niner fans? This is the Niner Fanatic Podcast. I'm Peter Lucas, and I got with me today Chris Polo. You've seen him on my show before. He has the Polo Show podcast. Also, you've seen him on Twitter and of course in the Spaces, like all of us. Chris, why don't you tell them where they can find you on the socials?
Yeah, thanks, Peter, for having me on again. So mainly it's my Twitter. So it's just in my display name. It's Chris Polo, 2 underscores. If you go to my link tree, you can find a link to my podcast. Really close to 100 subscribers. When I get there, I'm going to be giving away a free Nick Bosa jersey. So get on that. Shoot me a follow as well. In my link tree, you can get to my YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music. I also just recently started a Twitch channel too. So I'll do my live streams there when I get going. And also started writing articles for a newer media outlet called Stadium Rant. So now contributing writer for the Niners, covering them this year. So you can find links to my articles there too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I saw the things that you're doing. Really good to see you doing well.
Appreciate it.
And yeah, it's so we're about to hit game two of the preseason, Minnesota, and they had practice today. Their first joint practice today. But of course, we know Trey's not going to be playing, but he played today in the practice, and Trey had a pretty for the most part, it was a pretty good day. Like as far as from what I saw on Twitter, and like I think we saw a little bit of conflicting reports. The Minnesota beat writers didn't really want to give him any credit, but our beat writers were pretty fair, I thought, like with their assessment of it. So, but what we did see, we saw a lot. We saw a couple of really nice long passes, which is getting to be a habit for as far as Trey goes. Did you see any of the videos today? And like, what did you think of the practice film?
I did, yeah. Obviously, the probably big ones that was going around was Danny Gray burning Patrick Peterson for that 50-yard touchdown score from Trey. There's also, I don't know how many yards this went for, but there was a clip of Trey. He was rolling out to his right, and he throws across his body to find Debo in the middle of the field. That's an element of being able to improvise that they've not had in a quarterback. So being able to see something like that in practice, that's really encouraging. I can't wait to see that kind of aspect. So I saw those two plays that mainly stood out to me. The deep ball is going to be crazy this year. I actually just kind of wrote about that in something I published yesterday. I think there's going to be a seriously lethal vertical game because you have to worry a lot about how you're going to scheme against the running game against a Kyle Shanahan offense and with the running back room that we have. So seeing that it's pretty obvious that this is like a new focal point with the quarterbacks and the passing game, they're going to be so lethal this year. Just being able to see that. And Danny Gray, I don't even know if he's going to be the third receiver, and he's burning everybody.
Yeah, we don't really know who's going to be the third receiver. I would say it's there's just so much talent on this team right now that we've got so many different spots where, I mean, it could literally be anybody, and it's a good problem to have, but man, it's really confusing for us fans because, everybody's got their favorites, the guys that they want to see. Danny Gray is quickly becoming a fan favorite right now, and we haven't even gotten to week one. And it's, but yeah, today, like you said, those videos were out of him just completely burning Patrick Peterson and the other corner that they got, and I can't remember what Dantzler. He burned him. He was the first one that got burnt, and then he burned Patrick Peterson later. But Danny Gray is quickly becoming like, and I mean, we've seen him catch some. It hasn't been all long balls. Like, I think that he's gonna, by the end of this season, he could be like more of an all around type of receiver. And I think Shanahan's really kind of taken a liking to him. Just, I'm taking a liking to him as like after his, he had a press conference last week, I think, after the game, and it was he said some things that really kind of stood out to me, and I was really kind of just impressed with his mentality as far like, I mean, every day is a day to work, and like the guy's just all about it. Just seems like he's got that workman attitude, and it's just I think it's going to be sky's the limit for Danny Gray, especially when you got the physical gifts that he has. So, but as we said, Trey was not going to be playing in the game. What are the main things that you're looking for out of this game to see? And do you care? Do you even care if we win?
I don't really care if they win. I like preseason games to me. They don't count, but they do matter. So it's more like looking at, certain positional groups, what I'm seeing from certain players. I think I do really want to see these younger offensive linemen. I'm completely on the Burford bandwagon. I think he's going to be a Pro Bowler within like 2 or 3 years, and I'm being a little generous with saying 3. But I want to see like Donovan West in there also, just because I know Brendel's going to be a starting center and Brunskill's out, so there's probably not really competition there. But going forward, I'm hoping that Donovan West can be a consistent guy to take that center role, because Jake Brendel's kind of a journeyman. I don't know how reliable he will be, even though they do like the guys they have in house. I also want to see the secondary. I think it's a good opportunity for people in the secondary, just because with Ward being out as number 1 corner, I think that allows other people to step up, because we've been seeing like Lenoir and Ambry Thomas in camp, and I want to see where they're at in their sophomore years, because Ambry was a guy who was coming and playing a lot down the stretch in the season. He was stepping up in big games, but obviously in practice this year at camp, he's being picked apart. So I want to see what they look like in real game action. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I think I like the receiver group we have. Sure, I'd like to see if someone could separate themselves as the third receiver right now. Like, I understand the whole, like, it was kind of Juwan Jennings last year, but I feel like it's wide open between 3 different guys right now. And I'd like to see if someone can separate themselves. I'm fine with honestly any of those options. But yeah, I'm mainly looking at the defense. I think offense, it's going to be tough to tell when a lot of the guys are just not going to be playing. And also, if Trey's not out there, I don't really think we're going to be watching anything close to what we'd actually be seeing in the regular season with Trey. Because obviously in the early practices, right, when people were posting the completions and attempts and talking about completion percentage in practice, it's like Nate Sudfeld, I think his first practice, like, didn't have an incomplete pass. But the context that was, he was throwing a lot of checkdowns and Trey was throwing the ball down the field. So I'm not really paying too much attention to the offense outside like the O-line and the running backs probably. Defense, I really want to see where these other guys are at, like especially in that secondary. I really want to see that, because obviously, forgot to even mention this, Jimmy Ward being out. If he's gone week 1 or 2, the way I see it, Jimmy Ward is like 5 weeks get healthy, 6 weeks get healthy, because
that's the way I look at it too.
Yeah, but I do want to see, though, like, just in case, because injuries do continue to happen, I want to see who can step up, and also if someone were to go down later, who is someone else that might be able to be a reliable depth piece later in the season if needed. I'd like to learn a little bit more about who we have behind Mosley and Ward when it comes to that corner position. And obviously, I'd love to see some more Sam Womack. I mean, that dude crushed game 5.
Yeah,
last week.
Yeah, like so Sam Womack, like that was a guy that I think we all kind of assumed that that he was going to get a shot at the nickel position, just because of his size, because where he was drafted, and like so that's just the way it looked. Like it looked like it was an obvious move that they were trying to make. And I thought that them keeping Darquez Denard was kind of more like a it was more of a veteran just in case. just in case situation. If Womack needs a little bit more time to get ready, then we've got Denard there, just like in case of emergency, you just break the glass and have him start. Like because he is a vet, he's talented too. He's not a guy that's going to make a lot of plays. Like and it's because I thought he was solid in the first game in Green Bay. Like he didn't do anything that was just like egregious, like he didn't pull like a Travarius Moore or anything. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by everybody that really played in that game 1, except for Travarius Moore. And really, Travarius Moore didn't do terrible. He just had the really blown coverage. Yeah, the one play that was just blown coverage. And I think people are kind of a little overreacting a little bit on that. But at the same time, he's coming off a major injury also. So and I think they've kind of put him. I think honestly in that play, he just kind of guessed wrong. I think it was 4th and 1. I think he assumed that they were going to go short, or they were going to try and run the ball, and he guessed wrong, and let the guy run right by him. So it was an unfortunate play, but yeah, like as far as this game goes, I'm with you. I'm looking at this offensive line. I want to see if they continue to gel. You took the words right out of my mouth about Donovan West. He got a lot of playing time in the fourth quarter of this last game, and I thought he looked solid. Granted, it was against third stringers, but I still think he looked solid, and it was a building block like a type of thing to where it's going to take him some time to get acclimated. I think I got into a conversation on Twitter with Brad Graham about Donovan West, and we kind of came to the same conclusion that he's probably going to take the Aaron Banks model and take a year to get his body right and get his body ready for to be a starter in the league, and he could be the future center, I think, long-term center solution for this team, because I don't think Brendel is the long-term solution. I don't think I don't think that's going to be even a question if that Brendel, he kind of got toasted a lot in the practice today. And but I think that's what you're going to see out of Brendel. You're going to see a lot of inconsistency, and that's something that if we're planning on doing anything this year, I know that it's Trey's first season as a starter, but if we're planning on doing anything this year, that center position is really going to be an important one. And while he had a decent game against Green Bay, he was still going against second and third stringers. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I don't care if they win. I just want us to get out of here.
Get out healthy.
Get out of there healthy, and get these young guys some playing time to see what we got, and really showcase for the league so that we can get some trade offers, maybe some more picks for next year. So that's the way I'm looking at it. But so the team yesterday, right? Yeah, yesterday made some cuts to get down to the 85 number that they have to get to per the league. What was the most surprising cut for you? Do you think any of them were a mistake, or they could be brought back later?
I saw a lot of people saying that the Denard one was surprising to me. That wasn't that surprising. I mean, I was kind of hearing from multiple people that he was probably going to be gone, despite taking those first team snaps. I thought the surprising one is Kimdiche, because they brought him in pretty late, and I thought, okay, he's going to get pretty legitimate shot. He had a nice tackle for a loss too.
He played well
in that. Yeah, he played pretty good in that first preseason game. And I know that they're really deep on the defensive line. So obviously there's going to be cuts that are going to feel like, oh man, that we had to let him go. Like there's going to be some of those when you're that deep. But I felt like that was pretty early for a guy who I thought had a pretty good game. Then I don't know who else they would have cut already. I guess that's the problem you have when you have a deep team. It's a good problem to have. I just thought that maybe he would have got a little bit more of a shot. I don't know if it was because of some other reason or what. I just found that one kind of surprising. Not really surprised that he got cut, but cut on the first cut down day. I felt that was pretty early.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty harsh.
Yeah,
I liked him. I like the energy that he brings. That people say that he's a knucklehead. Honestly, I don't care as long as he plays well on the field. And I don't know what they've made there. Of course, they're seeing different things in practice, and but like you said, I think that this team is just ridiculously deep, and I didn't think that if they got rid of Denard, they probably weren't going to get rid of another secondary person. So, and they do have 18 guys on the defensive line, so it wasn't surprising to me that two of the cuts came off of the defensive line. But yeah, I was really surprised by that one. Denard, I was not surprised at all, and I heard on BD Peacock's Locked On the other day that, there was a good chance it was just because Denard is a veteran. So the 49ers, the way they treat their players is they respect their players, I feel. And so they were giving him a chance to catch on somewhere else, which completely makes sense. And the same can be probably said for, I'm not going to butcher his name, but you know who I'm talking about. The Kimdiche, I think it's the same thing for him. They're giving him an opportunity to, they put a little tape out there. They see that he can make a difference on the defensive line, and somebody should probably pick him up. Some needy team that needs somebody in the middle for pass rush purposes. I didn't really get to see too much what he did against the run, but I wasn't surprised at any of the other cuts. Like those were all fringe guys that
we're not holding two fullbacks.
Yeah, exactly. Hokit, you know what? I was a little surprised at Hokit getting cut this early.
Yeah, this early.
But I mean, they're just going to put him on the practice squad later, probably. Right. And so it wasn't too surprising, but I thought that they might keep him early in camp just because like they're not going to want to put Juice out there in a lot of these games, and so they don't want to get him hurt. So I thought they might use
Jason Poe fullback action.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. He's playing too well on the offensive line.
Yeah, no, he's actually holding his own. Like, he's smaller, but he holds his own.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing lights out on the offensive line. So I mean, I thought he was too short. But
yeah,
did you notice that the guys on TV are trying to doctor his height? They try to say he was 6'1". Yeah,
and the thing I hear at practice is like people are surprised in person when they watch him practice of how well he's able to hold up against bigger dudes.
Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, well, it's the same premise as Aaron Donald. Like, so Aaron Donald's not the tallest guy; he's only like 6 feet. Like, but he's like 300 pounds. And they said the same thing about Jason Poe is that he's short, so he gets that lower pad level and he gets underneath guys, and then they can't push him back because he's 300 pounds. Like, so yeah, like I don't know. I like Jason Poe. If they could they're going to find some ways to use that guy, and it may not be this season, like starting, but I could see it in the future, and who knows, the center spot could be him later on down the road. Maybe next season they might try him out there.
So. Yeah, it would be wide open competition if it wasn't a matter of experience at this point, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. So everybody, like it seems like all of our injury, like a lot of our cornerbacks got injured over the last like week and a half. But they're mainly hamstring injuries, and everybody's trying to say the hamstring injuries are the new high ankle sprain for the 49ers. Why do you think, and this is kind of going away from the point, but why do you think it is that we always, like, if it's not one thing, it's another for the 49ers? And why are there such always a high number rash of injuries on this team?
I have no idea. I was actually just typing up something about this after Jimmy got hurt, and Jimmy Ward with the hamstring. I think he's the 5th guy to go down with a hamstring injury so far. That's really weird. Like, I don't know if it's something they're doing in practice. Is it not a coincidence? Water? Like what's going on? Like, why is everyone's hamstrings just getting shot up? I don't get it. And the thing that concerns me about the hamstrings is those can really linger if you don't treat them right. Like, that's why a lot of times whenever I see someone have a hamstring injury in preseason, I always think to myself, especially if they're like a running back or something, like, oh gosh, that's going to flare up again in a few weeks when the regular season starts if they're not careful. So that makes me worry. The good thing is it's happening really early in the camp and preseason process, so they're going to have some good time to come back. But I don't know. It is really weird because, like, I think a lot of it is we go back to 2020, and it was like the second most injuries ever that year from a single team. And obviously we want no part of that again. So I think we start to see this pile up and we start to get a little nervous because I felt like that 2020 year, I told everyone, I was like, oh, we're going back to the Super Bowl this year. We added Trent Williams, and then the whole season was on injured reserve. Like, our whole season just went straight to IR. And that makes Niner fans really nervous, obviously, when we start to see every week. They're not like ACLs or Achilles or anything like that, but you start to see a pattern like hamstring here, hamstring there, irritated right knee, rib fracture, and we're like, oh geez, like, it's just slowly adding up. So I don't know if it's something they do as a team in preparation and practice, if it's something with the way that they train. I have no idea. But remember, Bosa, when he tore his ACL rehabbing, he used his own guys to rehab from that, if I remember correctly. He did not necessarily rehab like with the team's people. And look at the way that Bosa came back. So
now he doesn't even train with the team anymore.
And he looks like a beast.
Yeah. It's I try to catch myself because I feel like the last couple of years, I feel like teams have been playing with the injury report to kind of find ways to stash their guys, and get their guys rest when they just don't really want to use them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of looking at these injuries as a way to keep these guys from having to play in these preseason games and these joint practices and getting them hurt. Like, they've seen what they need to see from Jimmy Ward. They've seen what they need to see from Shavarius Ward and Emmanuel Mosley. Like, they don't need them. They don't need to prove anything in preseason. So why, like, oh, I pulled a hammy and now I can't play till week 1. So it's and I think that a lot of these guys, it's going to be they're going to say, oh, it may linger through like week 2 or 3, but I have a feeling that all these guys are going to be good to go on week 1. And I just think that being the conspiracy theorist that I am, I just have this feeling that Kyle is trying to play chess right now and trying to keep his guys healthy because he just wants to go full force when the season starts. So I don't know, but yeah, that's just the conspiracy theorist in my mind.
And it's possible. I mean, load management, it's more like an NBA thing for sure, as we all know, but it's a thing. Like, people do it all the time, so it's possible. And Shanahan, Shanahan said it was pretty bad too. Usually he doesn't give a lot of clear answers with that stuff. I don't know. He's been a bit of a different mood this year, I guess, but I mean, we'll see. If it is like a pretty bad hamstring, though, like he did say, that does worry me about it lingering. Honestly, if it's legit, dude, stay on the sideline in Chicago. You don't got to worry about that. Justin Fields is going to have no time to throw the ball. Like, if missing Jimmy Ward costs us a game of Chicago Bears, we have way bigger problems than that. I'm just going to be real.
Yeah, like it's. Yeah, it's we're not going to need him for Chicago. And that could be a thing too. They just might say, hey, Jimmy's a veteran. He's going to be 31 this year. Like, how about we just use him in the games we absolutely need him? Because this team is stacked and and we've got so much depth. I think that they're trying out guys everywhere on this roster. And like, I think Kyle really wants to go to that positionless football. And to get to that point to where he can just stick guys in where he needs, and then that keeps guys from getting that wear and tear on their body throughout the season. Like, I could totally see it, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. Kyle is always about trying some new stuff, and yeah, he just and sometimes to the detriment of the rest of us, but like in our sanity. But yeah, like he doesn't care about any of this. So what if but do you think, like we talked about, is it going to drag into the season? What do you think the plan would be if somehow these injuries kind of like got really kind of drug into week 3, week 4, when we start to hit that gauntlet? Like, because when we start playing that AFC West, I think we're going to need to be at full strength at that point.
Yeah.
So what do you think the plan would be in that situation? Because they do have depth. Like, you got Jason Verrett, you've got Ambry Thomas, you've got Diamador Lenore, like, and you've got these guys on the even the guys Holman did look solid against Green Bay. What do you think is going to be the plan? I really feel kind of like that's kind of the plan, is to keep all this depth there just for those eventualities. But what do you think the plan is going to be at corner if let's say E-Man can't go, or the plan more importantly it's safety?
I think it's a really big opportunity for someone like Tavarius Moore. Like, I think he has the ability to fill in pretty well. So that's one of those guys I really do want to see these next couple weeks of preseason and practice. Because honestly, I'm of the believer this might not be a popular thing to say, but I don't think Jimmy Ward's going to be a Niner after this year. And the only reason I'm saying that is because a couple things. One, they could have easily saved cap space extending him this year. They would have been able to have more money to spend, go get some help in free agency. And two, he posted something that kind of felt like he was going to test the free agent market, because remember, he took less money to stay with us the last time. Another team, now that he's finally starting to get recognized, I think another team might cash him out a little bit more than we might, considering he's 30, 31 years old right now. And we're looking at our cap space like, okay, we've got Debo, who's going to be on the books now with a new deal. We're going to have Ayuk coming up soon. We have to take care of Bosa next. I don't know if they're going to pay the safety that's in their 30s when they have Hufanga, who they've moved on to as their starting safety opposite of him. They let Tart go. They might be trying to go young at that point. So kind of got to see. And I want to see Tarvarius Moore step up in that situation. I think he could be a good depth piece for them, but it is kind of tough to tell because he's coming off that injury. And for corners, it's definitely why they're stashing away Jason Verrett. If Jason Verrett, like, he doesn't even need to be a starter, but this is what I was saying, like, pretty much all off season when people were debating if we should keep someone like Jason Verrett or not. Jason Verrett in 2020 was one of the best corners you could have had on your team. If you had like 75 or 80% of that guy as a depth piece, as opposed to last year having to roll Josh Norman for so damn long, I'll take that every single Sunday. And that's where I think that the depth, and that's why I want to see it more too, because I feel like healthy Verrett, I feel like I know what we have there, but I really want to see, can Ambry take a step up? Is he really just a bad practice player and really a guy who's built for games? I want to see Lenoir step up. I want to see Sam Womack continue to be consistent in the nickel position. And obviously, I want to see Hufanga and how he is in the regular season. I know we've heard a lot of hype about him, and he looks pretty good. He had that pretty big hit in the Green Bay game too, that I at first thought they flagged him for. If he's stepping up, that's something I should have mentioned first. If Hufanga's stepping up in a way that maybe we didn't fully expect, that'll probably negate a lot of the deficiencies we think we'd have without Jimmy Ward if Hufanga can step up. Because I think a lot of us were looking at the safety position this whole offseason like, oh, if Tart's gone, it's a hole, because we were looking at Hufanga. But I think the narrative's kind of changed, seeing the way Hufanga stepped up, seeing the way he's always the first guy on the field, one of the last guys off, seeing the way that he's playing in practice, the way he performed that Green Bay game. I'm really excited to see the younger safeties we have, to see what they can do. And also Odom as a vet, he actually had an interception today, right? It was Odom.
Yes,
he picked off Kirk Cousins.
It was nice too. It was a nice interception. And he's been solid. He's been solid in the tape that I've seen of him. And I mean, I don't think he's a starter per se.
Definitely not. Yeah.
But I think with Jimmy Ward, as far as Jimmy Ward goes, I think that it's going to all come down to what kind of season he has. If they're picking off passes like they've been in these practices and in preseason, if they're picking off passes like out of control, and Jimmy has like 5 picks and he's just locking down guys, it's gonna be really difficult. And let's say, for devil's advocate, let's say that we win a ring this year.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy, I think Jimmy's gone. We're not going to be able to afford it.
That price. You got Trent Baalke's of the world out there. They're going to bring that price up.
Yeah. I think at that point he would probably leave. And honestly, I don't think that the 49ers would really want to keep him around, considering he's going to be 30. He'd be 32 next year.
Right.
How
long are you going to re-sign him for? Till he's
35? Exactly.
Decline. I don't know.
If you win a ring, it would be, that's the perfect time for you to just transition to a younger guy, maybe get somebody in the draft and just deal with the growing pains of that. But I mean, I love Jimmy Ward. I love what he brings to this team. Yeah. But if Hufanga can step up and he's as vocal as he has, as we've all seen him be, they've been
the leader.
If we've got all these guys on the team, we've got Warner and Bosa and all these, Eric Armstead and all these guys that are leaders on this squad, I think they can withstand not having Jimmy Ward. But I don't want to talk a lot about Jimmy Ward like he's gone. He's
here
because he's gonna be here all season. I love Jimmy Ward. I think he brings another aspect, a grittiness to this team that I can't wait to see this season. So, but I just wondered what their plan would be if I don't know if you saw, but Jamar, Denver released one of their draft picks from last year, Jamar Johnson from he was out of Indiana. And he was really kind of a draft crush of mine last season. When I saw he was released, basically they just their safeties are their safety room is too deep. So they ended up having to let him go because they had too many people in front of him. But that's a guy I would love to see the Niners get, because I know he has physical talent. He just might need a little bit of coaching help. And that's something that the 49ers can definitely do for a guy. So I would love to see them pick up a young guy and see if they could develop him, but we'll see. But
another reason I really wanted to trade up and get Brisker. I love the team we got, but man, I wanted Jaquan Brisker so bad. Dude, that was my guy.
And I think you were on my show like when we were talking about the draft, and like Brisker has been my guy since day one. Mm-hmm. I wanted him from the very beginning. He was the guy. I was really all my mock drafts. I kept trading up to get Brisker, and I thought that, and I just didn't. I really didn't understand the whole premise. Now we got Drake Jackson. I can't really complain about that per se, other than we have 18 guys in the defensive line right now, and we're short a guy in the safety room now. But it is what it is. 49ers never do what we think that they're going to do. They never do what we want them to do, but somehow it tends to work out. So I'm not too mad yet. But so players on the offense have what players on the offense have made an impression on you so far in this preseason and training camp? Especially after the Green Bay game, what players on offense have made an impression on you so far other than Danny Gray?
Yeah. Spencer Burford. I was thinking Womack in the same mind because I was thinking of the game. Those two guys were the biggest ones for me. But Spencer Burford, it was the first possession of the game, or first offensive possession that we had. And it was around the 10, maybe 10:30 mark. We were handing the ball to Trey Sermon. Mike McGlinchey missed a block. But if you ignore the result of the play and just watch Burford on that play, he was like a brick wall against Chris Slayton, who was actually on our practice squad last year. He never got any leverage on Burford. He runs right into him. It's like he was running into a wall, and then he falls to his knees, and then Burford shoves him down to his backside. And I was like, oh my God, this dude, because we were so worried about the interior and the right side of the line. And honestly, that right guard, which I thought was the biggest gaping hole other than center, I'm now more worried about McGlinchey at right tackle than I am at right guard at this point because of the knee issue that McGlinchey is having right now after you're coming off a big injury. Seeing Spencer Burford, the way that he was completing and finishing his blocks in Green Bay's game, the fact that he's never really been challenged for the starting position at right guard as a rookie says a lot about how good he really has been. Because we were looking at, okay, we lost Laken Tomlinson. Aaron Banks fills in there. I think he's going to be solid, look pretty good, and also just wait till he actually gets to play next to Trent Williams. So then that really left the question mark at right guard. I think we're totally fine there now after seeing that. I do think he's going to be a Pro Bowler in the next couple of years. He looks like that type of player. I feel like he needs to change the number 74. He may be a dude that is here for a long time, and I'd like to see him get his own number because 74 is Staley. He's got to get his own number. So that's a dude on offense that really stood out to me. And I'm not someone who's like Brad Graham where I could really, analyze O-line play the way he does. But I know what a bully of an offensive lineman looks like when I see one. And I think just about anybody could, just watching that game. If you just focus on 74, you can see it. Yeah,
for sure. And this is the thing. What I was impressed by was Aaron Banks, the fact that, if Burford wasn't being Burford and doing Burford things out there, then we'd be talking about Aaron Banks looking good. Because he's the guy that everybody kind of expected. We know he has to step up. He was the one taking over for Laken Tomlinson on that left side. I think him next to Trent Williams is going to be. I don't think that they're going to miss a beat on that left side of the line. And the one obvious worry that we have is center, but there's another offensive lineman that's filling in for McGlinchey right now on that right tackle spot, and his name is just completely escaping me. I should have written it down, but they picked him up off of the street just
Jordan Mills?
2-3 weeks ago. Yes.
Yeah,
Jordan Mills. They picked him off the street 2 or 3 weeks ago. and he's been the best looking tackle out of all of them. Like so, and he was the one that had the best. They said I can't remember which beat writer it was, but one of them said that he was the best looking offensive lineman out of all of them today in the joint practices. Like he was the only one to stop Daniel. What is his name? Daniel Hunter for
Daniel Hunter. Yeah.
Like so. It's going to be really. I think that we're all going to be paying attention to this offensive line because of Trey. And because we know that Trey has to be protected. So we're going to be really paying attention to them. That's going to be the really most interesting part of this whole training camp preseason time frame. But another player that I'm kind of interested in seeing is I really want to see the growth of Juwan Jennings. The last couple of days, like they said, he's looked better, and he looked better in practice today. And I'm just interested to see him kind of step his game up. I don't want to see him get just eclipsed out of nowhere and get kind of phased out of the game plan, because he does add another aspect to this offense, and that grittiness, like and the blocking that I think that it's going to be needed in this running game, and it gives us that bully mentality. So I don't want to see him get phased out. So I'm really interested to see what happens in this next game as far as he goes. But what players do you think need to get the most reps on offense besides like the rookies?
Besides the rookies, if we're talking offense, I really do want, because Werner's back, right? He's like fully back. Yeah. I want to see Werner get some reps, because we haven't really had like a very good or very solid tight end too. I know Dwelly's had like he had that Cardinals game in 2019 where he had like 2 touchdowns, but dude, like if Kittle goes down, or even when Kittle's still there, I really would like Trey to have a second tight end to throw to. I know it's possible they might end up using Kyle Juszczyk there too, but if Charlie Werner can step up and be just a solid tight end too on the roster, I think that would be really nice. I want to see more of him. I feel like I haven't seen that much of him. Just going back to last year, I'd like to see him get more time. I'd like to see him go out there, running routes, make some catches. Like, can he be a playmaker in this offense? Just even if it's just like a possession, like pass catcher at the tight end position. That's all I'm really looking for. Just someone else who can be a reliable target. And I think that's what we tried to have with Jordan Reed, that kind of experiment, even though he was really injury prone and came back.
Get him on the field at the same time.
Yeah. But when he was on the field, like it worked. Like if we could just get one other pass catcher, like someone who's solid, I think that could be good. I also would like to see, now getting away from the rookies, I really have yet to see a lot of things that I'm super excited about when it comes to Trey Sermon. I have not seen a whole lot. I'd like to see Trey Sermon get more. This might be risky because of the preseason, but I'd like to see him get a few more carries than he did against Green Bay. He had 6. I want to see him get like 10. I want to see him get like 10 carries in this game. There was one play where people were arguing back and forth about where he was running toward the left side, and basically there's a linebacker. I don't know the linebacker's name, but there's a linebacker in the lane, but it was a pretty gaping hole. And instead, Trey Sermon decided to cut to the outside toward the sideline. And the argument that people were making was he's got to hit that hole regardless of a linebacker being there basically flat-footed, and just put your pads down and use them and just get some more yardage instead of just kind of doing the defense's job and going up against the boundary. Like, it's just small things like that. Because at first I was like, that's nitpicking. And I went and looked at it. I was like, oh, Aaron Banks actually had the angle on that linebacker too. And he was about to come off his man. He could have exploded. So I want to see those little things. And it probably will take me like a couple times to go back and rewatch the plays where he does get the ball. So that's another dude where, listen, Elijah Mitchell was playing through injury last year. I think Trey Sermon's going to get some games this year where he starts, just because it's football and stuff like that happens. And I don't want those starts to be he gets like 8 carries and like 20 yards rushing in those games, and we're sitting there like, what the hell happened to our rushing in this game? Like, that's what I don't want to see. So I'd love to see Trey Sermon get a little bit more work, because I think the running back 2 spot is open competition. And at the end of the day, if he doesn't step up and prove his worth as a guy that they traded up for in the 3rd round, TDP's right there. Jordan Mason's right there. Jeff Wilson is a veteran still on the roster. I don't want to just keep I don't want to see Trey Sermon just continue to stay in that running back 2 spot if that's where we're going to officially place him right now, if some other guys look like they are outperforming him at this point. So I'd like to see him get like 10 carries, even though it's preseason.
I completely agree with you about Sermon. Like Sermon, so the way I saw that play, and I know exactly what play you're talking about, and I was one of those guys that made an excuse for him because I thought, well, the linebacker's sitting there waiting for him. I think he saw that who he had on that where he made the jump cut, like they were what's it called? They were corners out there. So I think he just made a business decision. I'm going to go with against the lighter guy, and maybe he could get past those guys. And he ended up probably getting about the same amount of yardage that he probably would have gotten. But I think that those little things, like you were saying, kind of speak to what Kyle wants to see from him.
Right.
And like Kyle wants to see, talked about it last year, he wants to see him hit the hole. So that was a business decision that he probably should have just taken his, and I mean, the guy only averaged like 1.5 carries. Or 1.5 yards per carry in this last game. So, I mean, I think that Kyle actually drew up Trey Sermon's carries and drew up those runs that he had for him on purpose, like to make it they're going to be tough yards because he wanted to see what Trey Sermon was going to do and what kind of business decisions he was going to make for that in those types of situations. Sometimes you just need to put your head down and get the 1 yard.
Right.
Like, I completely agree with you. Like, and that was kind of an aspect I really didn't think about until like yesterday. And, cause I was rewatching the game and I think Trey Sermon could be explosive. I think that it's when they really get their inside zone read stuff going. And when Trey is a part of that, it's going to look a lot different than it's looked in preseason. Because they really haven't had a chance to really do anything explosive. I feel like Kyle is setting the league up, thinking that he's just gonna be running them into walls all year, and I think it's gonna be a completely different look when like I think I saw a video of them doing the triple option the other day.
I saw that clip.
Yeah, and if coming out of the triple option and having Trey throw a deep pass is gonna be, I mean, let's put it this way. The league is not, I don't think the league is ready for all the things that Kyle is going to try. Will they work? We don't know. But he's going to try. And I think sometimes it's going to frustrate us because Kyle just likes to frustrate people. He doesn't always like to take the sure thing. And it kind of just infuriates us sometimes, but I wouldn't trade him for anything. And, but yeah, I completely agree with you about Sermon. I'm interested to see another guy that I'm interested to see and getting away from those younger guys is I want to see Ray Ray. I want to see more Ray Ray. Like I want to see Ray Ray do some sweeps, some sweeps and getting some of those Debo carries that and take some of those miles off of Debo. I want to see some of those things out of Ray Ray because I think Ray, we're only scratching the surface of what that guy is capable of. So that's going to be another thing that I'm looking for. But let's move on to the defensive side. So same question for the defensive side. What players do you like? Who's made an impression on you, and what players really need to kind of get the most reps? Like, do you see?
Impression, obviously, Womack was up there.
Yeah,
for everybody.
Sure.
McCrary Ball looked pretty good too.
That guy.
Oren Burks had a really nice tackle in like that first possession too. He came in flying to tackle the ball carrier. I think guys that need more reps, it's going to be in that secondary. It's like the starters are all set, but it's the depth pieces behind them where it's like, okay, how are we going to order this depth chart now?
Yeah,
that's for me. That's Lenoir, that's Ambry, and also Tarvarius Moore. Like those are the three guys I really want to see, especially Tarvarius after that play in Green Bay. I'd love to see him redeem himself with a good outing against Minnesota. I think that would be big time. And obviously with the Jimmy Ward injury, that'd be really nice to see, really encouraging to see. So I feel like those guys I'd like to see get some good run. Because I'm honestly of the camp where I feel like Ambry might be close to not being here very long if he's going to continue to get picked apart, and got to the point where in practices, Tariq Castro-Fields, who's a rookie, coming on board as a really raw rookie too, already surpassed him on that depth chart. It's really not a good sign. So I really want to see guys like that earn their keep in these games. Like not just do your job, but also make a play, like make something happen. That's something I think we really want to see from this defense coming into this year. And we were talking about it all off season, is like, we have a good defense, but they don't make a lot of like game breaking plays in the secondary. There's not a lot of turnovers created. We had a corner who forced fumbles, but he was also terrible at coverage. So
punch outs became a stat.
Exactly. Like that's not what we really wanted to see. So I want to see Ambry or Lenoir like have a play that makes me think like, okay, I believe in this dude. Because right now, I don't know how much I believe in those two. I feel like maybe Lenoir, I might believe in him a little more just based on just the reports from camp and practice this year. But I don't know. It's really back and forth for me. So I really want to see those guys get more reps. And the defensive line, Tanya was saying it earlier, if Ridgeway's back, like, and Bosa was giving him praise today, I like to see what he can do on the interior for us. And Drake Jackson's another one too. I don't want to play too much, but there were a couple plays from Drake Jackson in that game where I was really encouraged by the athleticism. There was the play where I think he literally went to the ground, and then Jordan Love is scrambling to the left, and he gets up and chases him down.
I thought he was going to break his ankle.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, like how did he get up? How did he recover so quickly? And then there's the other one where Jordan Love is getting pressured, and he's rolling out to his right, and he stops. Like he tries to stop and cut back to kind of shake Drake Jackson. It didn't work. Yeah. Like he just mirrored him immediately and tipped the pass. Like that dude is an athletic freak. I mean, the dude was doing backflips in practice, and you're not supposed to be able to do that at his size. So those guys, I mean, there's so many guys on defense. It's really hard to choose, but for me, it's mostly the secondary depth pieces.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like for the most part, like I want to see more of Odom. I want to see more of Odom. Like I'm really interested in seeing more of. I want Ambry to keep getting out there and taking his lumps. The Lenoir had, from what I heard, had a kind of a rough day today. But I mean, look at who he was going up against. Like I mean, even KJ, they're so loaded at wide receiver over there. Like KJ Osborne is another guy that I'd really like from them, and Smith Marset. Like he was a guy I was looking for the Niners last season. And so I know he's really talented also. They just got a really full wide receiver room just like we do. And but I really kind of look at, like we were talking about Ridgeway earlier. Tanya put that question about Bosa praising Ridgeway. Well, he got injured. And like then all of a sudden now we can't see him. And but for me, I want to see more. I want to see more Kinlaw. He ran over a guy in practice today, which was a great rep. Like, but I want to see him get to be like that. Like the guy is huge. I want to see him run over some guys and take up two blockers to free up everybody up, to free up the rest of this line. Because if you can get Bosa one-on-one, like on a regular basis, because you've got to put two guys on Kinlaw, that could really, and then Armstead too, like that. I mean, how do you block this defensive line at that point? Like, right. I just don't. So I'm really interested in seeing Kinlaw get more reps. He has lost a little bit of weight, which makes me. They said he's under 300 pounds now, which kind of scares me as far as like I think that he might lose some of his power. And I want him to be able to hold up at the point of attack, and so that especially for the running game. But there's one more guy that I was really I really liked who you were talking about, but Oren Burks. You mentioned Oren Burks earlier. He had like 8 tackles before the half. He was all over the place, and it's starting to make me wonder. And Flanagan Foles is another guy. Like he had that one tackle that was like, it was a Madden style hit stick tackle. And that was a great tackle. But Oren Burks it's almost like that it's the system that the 49ers have that has their linebackers just flying all over the place, because it seems like they're just everywhere all the time. And it doesn't matter who's out there. They're all out there flying around making plays. And I got to believe, because nobody thought Oren Burks was going to – we thought he was a special teamer, and that was about it. Like, so I want to see more of Oren Burks. I want to see more of him. I want to see more of that other guy that you were talking about, McCrary Ball. He was intriguing. I'd see him as like a Griffith that we had last season. And I want to see some more of. They haven't released Gemmel yet, have they?
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah, so I want to see more of him too. Like he's a young guy, but I kind of want to see more of him. I just want to see all these guys that aren't going to be starting get as much playing time as possible. I think that an underrated aspect of all of it is that, you know, D'Amico, depending on who's out there, he finds ways to shade coverage to the weaknesses in the secondary. And I think that he may be just putting these guys in these situations just to see what their weaknesses are, so that he can know, if I have this guy in here, I know I'm going to have to shade coverage this way or that way. And that's how he's going to do the mix. So I think that that's an underrated aspect of what we're going to see in this next game.
Yeah.
But so finally we got to get to, we got to talk about him. At least it's a 49er podcast. Like,
almost
so
done.
You can't get through a podcast without talking about Jimmy G.
Almost done.
So there's going to probably be some last minute options, but with it being so late, like in the whole aspect, I think, like, do you think anybody's going to actually trade for the guy, or do you think that they're going to end up having to release him?
I don't think anybody's going to want to trade for him. Jimmy G to me is the guy in PE class when you're picking teams and he's picked last every time. And like when you're picking first, because there's team captains, you're going to be stuck with that person. Sadly, that is who Jimmy G is to me at this point when it comes to the quarterbacks that were available this entire offseason. I don't even know if the Seahawks will look to bring him in. I feel like it's in the Seahawks' best interest to just lose and try to get one of these top-end quarterbacks in the draft. The Browns still waiting on official word about the Deshaun Watson thing. I think that's where he will end up, but I really don't see the Browns trading for him. They already traded picks for Watson. They don't have a first-round pick next year, which is why I feel that they would go after Jimmy, just because it's not like you're going to tank. So are you really going to roll Jacoby Brissett out there for 17 games as the Cleveland Browns organization that's been known for losing a lot while you do have a competitive roster? That wouldn't really make any sense. Pittsburgh Steelers, I find it really hilarious that they're so great at finding talent on offense, but their quarterback situation is just one of the worst QB rooms in the league. So that's a possibility. I think it's going to be, teams are going to say, well, listen, even if we rework the contract, I really don't want to give up draft capital for a guy who's coming off shoulder surgery, for a guy who hasn't been able to go through training camp this year with my offense and have our playbook, for a guy who has no chemistry with any of these receivers or offensive line at all. Why would I give up even like a 5th or 6th round pick when I can just wait a few more days and probably get him as a free agent? And here's the thing. Let's say it is multiple teams actually going after him. Let's say it's the Giants, the Browns, and the Steelers. If I'm any of those teams and I miss out on Jimmy Garoppolo, I am not losing a whole lot of sleep on the fact that I missed out on a guy like Jimmy G. Like, it's not like I'm missing out on trading for like Russell Wilson or something like that. Like, this is completely different. This, at this point, is you cut your losses at that point, because the Giants, you're not going to be competitive. The Steelers, I don't think you're going to be competitive in the AFC with how loaded they are over there. And if you're looking at the Browns, sure, you could be competitive, but you kind of know your season's done if Deshaun Watson is out for the entire year, because no quarterback at this point you could pick up is going to catapult you above, Mahomes and the Chiefs, or Josh Allen and the Bills or even Burrow and the Bengals. Like nothing you can do, especially Jimmy G, is going to take you over that point. You keep your picks. So I don't think anyone will trade for him, but I do see him getting picked up pretty quickly as a free agent. And I hope it's Seattle. I actually really, really hope it's Seattle. In fact, if it's Seattle, I may have to work out my schedule so I can fly out to the home opener. I think that's a must be. Like, you got to be there for that. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, it's and side note, Deshaun Watson has looked terrible so far.
Yeah.
So which is a whole nother interesting development. Granted, it's preseason. He's got to wipe off like a year and a half of rust.
Mm-hmm. And that's his fault. Like, he could have played, he just didn't.
And a new team and a new system. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Jimmy G. I'm with you. I think they release him. I think they're going to end up releasing, and I think that they're going to wait till the very last second because I don't feel like they think that they owe Jimmy anything. Mm-hmm. I think if I'm them, I'm like, you know what? You could have done this. You could have gotten that surgery the minute the season ended. You could have went to the doctor, got your second opinion, got that surgery done as soon as possible. You chose not to, and now you put us in the situation to the point to where now there's nothing that we can get for you. So we don't owe you anything at this point. And we're just going to wait till the last possible second to get rid of you. And so that way, even if you do go somewhere, even if you go somewhere in the division, you're not going to hurt us. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's the longer it goes, and I think that the one good thing about preseason starting is it's kind of taken all of the Niner fans' eyes kind of away from Jimmy because of the explosive play of Trey. And I think that now, even the Jimmy truthers they've even quieted down at this point, because it's just okay, well, Jimmy can't do that. So what are we really talking about right now? But yeah, I can't wait to see where I can't wait to see if they release him, if anybody even picks him up. Because it might be too late.
Do you think that, and this would be kind of a bit of a conspiracy, do you think that the Niners have known for quite a while now that they're not going to get anything for him? Because, all the GMs are tapped in. Yeah. And we all knew, for a while now, why would anyone trade for him? Yeah. And Ian Rappaport comes out with a report that we all knew, they're going to cut him on cut down day anyways. So I don't know why a logical GM would sit there and get so desperate for Jimmy G to the point where they trade actual draft capital for him. Do you think the Niners know that? And they were maybe on purpose letting the whole, he ignored his teammates and ghosted everybody on purpose?
That's an entire possibility.
Because they tried to screw the Niners over so that, that injury guarantee was there. That kind of held them hostage. They couldn't get trade value in return. Okay, you're going to mess up the value we could have got for you in return. We're going to mess you up, and you're going to have to get a new contract with none of this guaranteed. We're going to cut you on cut down day. You're not going to get any of that. Good luck getting anything close in free agency with barely any spots, with no training camp.
And somebody's going to, and the more I think about what I just said, somebody's going to pick him up because somebody's going to look terrible. It's by week 3. And somebody's just going to take somebody's going to get released, and somebody is just going to take a chance on Jimmy. Mm-hmm. It is what it is, but he's only going to get 6 or 7 million. He's probably not even going to get as much as his injury guarantee. I think his injury guarantee was $7.5 million. He's probably only going to get 6. It's going to be a minimal amount. So I feel sorry. I feel sorry for the guy because he did kind of bring us back into prominence, not himself, but he was a part of it. And and I feel bad that it's kind of we're just kind of shuffling him aside. But at the same time, I'm still excited about the prospects of having a quarterback that can throw more than 20 yards. So it's feel sorry for you, Jim, but it's you'll be gone soon enough, and then we'll be talking about you stinking on the Giants or somewhere that's not here.
I firmly believe that he's going to get signed somewhere as a starter because the team's going to just have a horrible quarterback room.
Yeah.
He's going to leave that team and be a bridge starter in Tampa Bay because I think Tom Brady's going to retire, and I think it's going to come full circle for Jimmy. He's just going to replace Tom Brady anyways.
Yeah.
And Tampa's
Trask
going to
looked terrible.
Trask had that throw. It was last week or 2 weeks ago, and it's so bad that it looked fake. Like I couldn't even believe what I was watching. Like this looked like the ball was moving backwards, like something like a magnet was pulling it back. But no way. Like you can't roll out with that guy. So I do think he actually may end up in Tampa Bay, and I think that'd be perfect for him. Jimmy G out on the beaches by Tampa Bay. I think that'd be so perfect for him. I think that's where he'll end up after this year as a bridge starter.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, I just want him. I just want him not here. And I mean, not that we're really talking about him anymore besides this podcast, but like it's still the sooner I don't have to hear about him practicing on the sideline in camp, like the better. But
yeah, I really don't need to see the tweets of, Jimmy G threw a pass to Kalia Davis today. I do not care. It's not the Kalia Davis news I want to hear.
Yeah, but yeah, so we got the game. The game's on Saturday, correct? Like, so it's games on Saturday. I'm probably gonna do an episode on Sunday, like to recap the game. I'm gonna try and get into more 2 times a week, like one before the game and one after the game, going forward, so that everybody knows. But yeah, Chris, I loved having you on. I loved having you on again. Like, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Why don't you tell them one more time where they can find you everywhere on the socials and with all the new glorious stuff that you're doing?
Yeah, thanks, Peter. So my Twitter handle is in my display name. It's just Chris Polo 2_. My link tree's in the bio. Go to Linktree, you can find my YouTube channel. The podcast is on. It's called The Polo Show. It's on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you just go hit subscribe on the YouTube channel, though, I'm really close to 100 subs. When I get to 100 subs, I'm giving away that free Nick Bosa jersey, and that saloon font looks really clean on these new jerseys. It's pretty cool to see that out there in action. I'm going to be streaming on YouTube, Twitch, and also straight from my Twitter as well. But also, I recently became a contributing writer at a newer platform called Stadium Rant. We have a team site on there called Niners Empire. We're trying to grow our team. And I have a couple articles that are published up there right now from last week. So if you go to Linktree, you'll see that at the bottom there too if you want to read some stuff. I just put up my top 4 takeaways from the last preseason game. I'm sure I'll do something very similar for this game on Saturday.
Awesome. And like, thank you everybody that watched today. Thank you everybody that's going to end up listening on the audio version. I'll be having that out sometime tonight, like on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. Once again, thank you to Chris for coming on. Thank you all the people that came in the chat, and please like, comment, subscribe. Make sure that you tell your friends about the podcast. We're going to be ramping it up when this is the closer we get to the season. And yeah, I appreciate all the support that I get from everybody, like at all times. So until probably Sunday, we're going to keep it the same, and go Niners.